today we hear about Jesus' second prediction of his coming passion. The first time was just after Jesus said, "Who do you say that I am?" And Peter says, "You are the Christ, the Son of the living God." And so finally they know who he is, but now he's saying, this is the type of Christ I must be. I must die on the cross. I must suffer and die. So don't think that your preconceived notions are going to be what it's about. So Matthew and Mark always have, when there's this prediction of the cross, an inept response. In the first one, Peter's inept response is, "Oh no, you shall not do that." And Jesus has to tell his best friend, "Get behind me, Satan." He calls him Satan. Here, the inept response is that the mother of the sons of Zebedee come and say, "Well, we want to sit on your right and on your left in the kingdom." You don't get it. Why does Mark make this so apparent, this inept response? Because we don't get the cross. We don't get the mystery of the cross. We don't get the fact that why this has to happen and what this means for our lives. And Jesus invites us to enter into this mystery. And especially the church chooses these readings so that in this time of Lent, we can have a greater appreciation for the cross. I know in my own life, I've struggled with, embracing the cross as something that is a way of, I hate myself, so I want this to be some way of, making up for what I've done. Or on the other hand, avoiding the cross with whatever possible. But the Lord doesn't like either of those responses. But rather to embrace the cross, not because we hate ourselves, but because we love the one who hangs on the cross. St. Francis of Assisi gazed upon the cross and he says, "Look, here is love." And this is what we must see when we gaze upon the cross. Yes, suffering, yes, torture, but Jesus could have come down from that cross. He was God. He had that authority. He chose to stay there because he loves you. Because he loves me. St. John Paul II, in his letter Novum Millennio Inuente, you remember that one, right? Back in the becoming of the new millennium, back in 2001, January of 2001, he wrote this letter, and he invites us to gaze on the face of Christ. To spend time gazing on the face of Christ. And he does talk about the resurrected face of Christ, but he also emphasizes the suffering face of Christ. That as we gaze upon the cross, as we gaze upon the one who loves us so much hanging upon the cross, we're brought into the mystery of his love. So that we're not looking and saying, I want to be first, I want to be sitting on your right and on your left. And we don't even hear, whether James or John was going to claim the right, which is the place of preeminence. They're kind of like pushing the other 10 behind. We want to be on your right and on your left. But it would have been just as bad as they were then wrestling over who was going to be on the right and who was going to be on the left. But we look and we see Jesus came not to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many. And as we enter into this mystery, the mystery of the love of God in human flesh, loving us. The more we gaze on this, the more we enter in, the more then those questions, those desires, they pass away. And we want to be like him, loving and serving those around us. And so as we continue through this Lenten journey, may we spend time gazing upon the cross, the suffering face of Christ, and see in that His great love.